What if I told you that your house is a terrible investment? Most people will get really upset and say, no, it's not. My house is the best investment that I've ever made or that anyone will make throughout their life. This is completely false, and in this video I'm going to break down why your primary residence is a terrible investment. Look, don't get me wrong, I really love home ownership. I love the process, I love the challenges, I love everything about it. I love the privacy, and it is absolutely such a cool emotional feeling to own your own house. But realistically, and this is me being honest with you guys, is the cost to own a property is just a lot of money. Everything costs money, and in today's time, everything is so flippin' expensive. It ends up costing you more money than you could ever imagine. We've all heard the saying that your house is the best thing that you can buy throughout your life. Renting is like throwing money in the water, and as a married couple, the best thing you can do together is to buy your own house. In South Africa specifically, buying your primary residence is more of a status symbol than an actual investment. Make sure to stick around until the end of this video, because I'll be sharing a real life comparison of two individuals where the first one actually bought a house and the second one decided to follow a different route. Let's face it, we all want to own our own properties because we don't have to adhere to anyone's rules or ask for permission to paint our walls or hang things up or do renovations or have a braai with family. It's just such a good emotional feeling to have with house ownership. At the end of the day, it's just that. It's more of a status symbol and an emotional investment than an actual investment for your finances. At the end of the day, the main issue comes in that most people don't understand the definition of an asset. And in my opinion, this is what I call an asset. An asset is something that can appreciate in value over time whilst putting cash flow in your pocket. Let's just be realistic for one moment and think of owning a property. Imagine you bought a property for R1 million over 20 years at 11.75% interest. That means over your 20-year term, you would pay back your bank R2.5 million. The sad truth is that this is excluding levies if applicable, rates and taxes, repairs and maintenance, and that ends up costing you a hell lot of money while you own this property. Even if you pay off your property and you have no debt on your property, you still need to pay for your rates and taxes or your levies. You still need to maintain your property, and you still need to repair certain things over the length of your ownership. So with that said, I own my primary residence, and I know this might seem counterintuitive, but I believe that if you own your property over the longer term, it might be beneficial for most people. But I don't see it as an investment. I see it as a complete liability because it's something that costs me a lot of money, and above that, it costs me time. There's always things that needs to be upgraded. There's always repairs that I need to do. I'm a DIY type of guy, so I like to do certain repairs and maintenance around my properties by myself, which means it costs more money because I make a lot of mistakes sometimes. It means it takes more time. But geez, it feels like I'm at Galmar each and every single day just buying stuff. And this is part of home ownership because it means you need to pay for these things out of your own pocket. It's small things like this, but at the end of the day, you need to buy them. It costs money and it takes time to complete these jobs. The thing is, there's always work to be done when you own your property. And let me show you some examples. So this, for example, is just the garage. And this I want to paint. Obviously you can see it looks quite ugly at this stage. It's a garage, and initially I thought, let me just buy some paint, that should sort the issue. But at this specific area there was rising damp, so we had to sort that out, meaning it takes more time, meaning it costs more money. I need to buy more paint or damp seal specifically, and obviously it takes labor. So This is just a prime example of why owning your house costs a lot of money, because now suddenly I have this emotional feeling of I want to make my garage look nice, but it means that it's going to cost me time. It means that it's going to cost me money. Let me just go and show you another prime example of this that I'm gonna show you guys in just a moment. So it might look a bit scruff here, but just bear with me. This is an issue that always pops up. I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos. It's maintenance issues that you will have with each and every property. That's going to be plumbing issues. So this, for example, is on the outside of my property, and we have a bit of a leak over here. We just used some pan seal for a temporary solution, but obviously I need to fix this so that we don't have water leaks here. Luckily this is just drainage water, so it's low pressure, it's not a big issue. But again, it means that I'll have to figure out what I need to buy here. I need to spend time here, and it's going to cost me time, which results in money. The second thing that I just thought of now is when you buy your primary residence, you obviously need to pay for transfer and registration costs, right? Most of the time, if you buy it in your own house, or in your own name, you might not have to pay, registration costs because the bank will give you 105% financing. But imagine your average cost would be around 80,000 Rand, for example, to just acquire your property. Think of how long it will take you to make back your 80,000 Rand that you had to invest just for physical ownership. Whereas if you bought an investment property, you paid the same amount, at least you start generating cash flow so that you can get back your initial investment. With your own property, ultimately it's going to cost you more money. It's going to take longer to get your initial investment back. And I know a lot of people say, but yes, the value of your house will increase. How do you get access to that money? How does your average individual get access to that capital? The answer is they don't. If I had to choose between buying my own house and living in it compared to buying a rental property, of course I'll rather buy the rental property. The difference is that I have purchased enough rental properties that can pay for my liability. The issue is that people tend to do it the other way around. They try to buy a house that costs them a lot of money, and then they try to acquire more rental properties or their first rental property because they quickly realize a few years down the road that owning your primary residence is really, really expensive. Just imagine you lose your main income or you lose your job. What is going to happen with that property? Will you be able to afford your loan payments, or will you have to move to a smaller property and start renting again? Let's just quickly have a look at Johan and Lerato as a comparison of investments and see who would be better off after 10 years. So let's say, for example, Johan buys a house at 25. The cost of the house is R1,000,000 and he took out a bond over 20 years. He pays around 10,800 Rand a month for its bond repayment only. The total interest over time is going to be 1.5 million Rand, like I mentioned previously, and he has little to no flexibility to invest or spend money on other things. Then we have Lerato, who rents a property for 7,000 Rand a month, but she invests the difference of 3,800 Rand, and after around 10 years, she received a 10% return, and that means on her 3,800 Rand invested over a term of 10 years at a return of 10%, she sits with around 750,000 Rand cash, whereas Johan basically still busy paying off his property. Yes, his property might have gone up in value, but he still owes the bank money. So tell me, which one do you think is the better option, especially as a young professional starting out with his or her career? The problem that we face in South Africa is that people make investment decisions based on emotions, and they would like to feel valuable in other people's eyes. Again, buying a house is cool and everything, and it's nice to own your primary residence, But in my opinion, it's just a status symbol. Of course, I'm open to opinions, so please feel free to let me know what you think about this topic and share this to someone before they sign their new offer to purchase on buying their dream house. So just make sure you understand the complications of buying your primary residence and the cost involved with that purchase. I've made a property investment course where I show people how to dominate the rental property market in South Africa. So make sure to check that out if you want to learn how to really understand the property market and actually make profitable investments from day one, where you can buy properties that can cash flow and put money in your pocket and ultimately reach financial freedom where you don't have to work for the rest of your life. Just make sure to secure your spot as soon as possible because the price of these courses will be increasing, so make sure you secure it at the lower price. I wanted to share this video and I wanted to tell people that's watching this video that it's totally okay to rent your property. Don't feel pressured to make the decision to buy a house just because your friends or your family has made that jump and purchased a property, because 90% of the time they only realize a few years later that it was a really bad investment. So stay true to your own goals, make sure that you focus on your dreams and don't get pressured into doing things that doesn't really make sense for your situation. Just make sure that you don't fall into the comparison trap of buying your house because it is a good investment.
Another thing that I just quickly wanted to show you, and this is a expense that I really didn't think is going to be or is going to cost me this much. So just to show you guys, this is obviously some weeds that's dead now. I sprayed a lot of poison on it. I'll show you a photo of what it looked like previously. Obviously it's dead now, but I didn't necessarily think of the cost of poison, like what it would cost me. I'm not sure most of you guys would probably know Roundup. The cost of buying Roundup to spray on these weeds to make sure that nothing is overgrown. That alone costs money and it costs you time, and if you can't afford to pay someone to do it, you'll have to do it on your own, which means you reinvest more of your precious time to pay for things that you didn't really bargain for at the end of the day. Like I said, it's part of home ownership, but it doesn't mean you have to buy a property. And I always tell my friends and other people that ask for advice that renting a property is probably your better option. It's probably your cheapest option. It makes more sense in the short term, and it's going to be less stressful at the end of the day as well. With that said, it doesn't mean you have to rent forever. So you can buy a property once you feel that you are in the right situation in your life to actually afford it. Because believe me, it costs a lot of money. While I'm actually sitting and recording this video, I received a few phone calls. I received a phone call of another geyser issue of one of my properties. And this isn't a problem for me because I have a team of people that I can send to this property to fix the issue, because I receive cash flow, which allows me to outsource the work. And it's the opposite with this property. This property is not generating any income for me, so I need to be able to pay for everything from my own pocket. So just think of this before you buy your property. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Help me to get to 60,000 subscribers. Like this video and share it with your friends or family members that you know will benefit from this information. Okay, so please guys, help me get to 60,000 subs.